What is up, Nuggets? It's your boy, Killer Pizza, here with a brand new video for you rascals and rapscallions out there. As always, I hope everybody's having a great weekend, watching some spooky movies and whatnot. And we are officially past Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a good holiday with their friends and family. I know I definitely had a good time. I had 4 days off and then back to reality, which we are deep in the winter already in December here in Michigan. It's been like 10 degrees and lower all last week, so that's kind of why I have a later upload right now. I was going to record a video yesterday. I was just so tired and beat up from the weather. I said, I'm just going to record this Sunday whenever I get up and situated. So that's where we're at now. And yeah, hopefully everybody is getting prepared for Christmas. I know this is the first year I'm actually ahead with buying gifts. Now, if I only can wrap them, classic dude, taking forever to get his Christmas presents situated and everything. But I'm pretty excited for it, pretty excited to jump into like some holiday movies and whatnot. But before we get there, we're going to talk about the topic of the video. That's the whole point we're here, right? And I thought of this the other day. I was thinking this would be kind of a fun topic. I'm going to talk about 10 horror VHS covers that scared me as a kid. Now, I am a kid from the video store days. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching this are. If you grew up in the 90s, video stores were king. I remember a brief history with me in the video stores. It was just me and my sister and my mom. My mom being a single parent raising us. We had a video store in town called Videotron, and they would have a deal. 3 releases for $3 for 3 nights. And if we were good all week long in school, we'd get to go to the video store, and we would each get to rent a movie on Friday night. I'd always get a wrestling tape or one of the Rocky movies, usually Rocky 4. And my sister would always get a horror movie. That's who got me into horror in the first place. And this is kind of where the idea stemmed from. I remember being so short as a little kid, 5 years old in the horror section, following my sister around and just looking at these titles. The shelves are taller than me. And I remember there was just certain titles that stood out, certain covers that scared the shit out of me. And right now we're going to talk about them. So enough of me rambling on. Let's get right into it. These are in no particular order. But the first one I want to talk about is Dolly Dearest. Now, this is a cover that haunted me as a kid. Child's Play movies never really scared me. I always found them a lot of fun. But Dolly Dearest was very scary. I think maybe because it had like that porcelain doll kind of look. Those older looking dolls in the first place were kind of creepy. We all probably went to an older relative's house back in the day and they had some of those sitting around and scary shit. But my sister actually got a doll, I think on her birthday or Christmas, either one, because she was born in November. And it was like this battery-operated crawling doll. And she used to torture me with this thing and have it crawl after me. And I'd be jumping on the couch and like running from it. And I thought the thing was alive. And Dolly Dearest, this cover, I think it goes more with the movie itself too. Just that creepy doll. I bought the Vinegar Syndrome release when it came out. And the movie, honestly, to me, doesn't hold up very well. I think there's only 2 kills in the entire movie. But there's some creepy shit in there where like, when you see the silhouette of the doll and the little girl talking and playing inside the little playhouse in the backyard, the mom sees that, like that's some creepy shit right there. But just this doll in particular, being a little kid, always scared the shit out of me. And next up, now keep in mind, some of these are movies that I watched a lot as a kid, just the cover scared me. And a lot of these are ones I never watched because I was so scared. And this is one that was always in rotation, and that is Night of the Demons 2. We loved all 3 of these movies, me and my sister. You can see a bit of a pattern because she would pick out the movies when I was a lot younger. So I have a huge influence from her. So, obviously the one with the doll, she's a girl, she wanted to watch that. And then with Angela on the cover of all 3 of these, like this cool looking woman, demon, or everything. But this one creeped me out way more than the first one. I don't know, it's just something about that skull lollipop and the makeup on her and everything, the background, the colors. And once again, as I was saying, you got to think yourself when you're 5, 6, 7 years old and you're looking up at a shelf, it's taller than you, and you're like, what is this? You have no idea what that is. And I think more so than the second one, more so than the first one, the cover just kind of scared me more. They're both pretty scary and everything, but Night of the Demons 2. So, don't mind me, man. You guys scratching my damn face and stuff. I work outside, like I've said a million times. My skin is so dry right now. But, anyways, I'm showing a lot of these up here because I only have 2 of these that I'm talking about on VHS. But anyways, number 3, I have all these written down. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Now, this is a very strange one to go onto my list. I know the first cover is the original is way more iconic with the axe coming out, but there's just something about this. Like, I got opened up to like Faces of Death when I was way too young. My mom's boyfriend used to rent those and watch them with us, and like the old UFC tapes. Me and his son when we were like real little. And for some reason, I think the Silent Night, Deadly Night cover kind of reminded me of like the Faces of Death movies, because with the gun on the ornament, it kind of looked like something I wasn't supposed to be watching, something that was kind of different than a slasher. Because normally, even back then, I knew as a kid, like, you don't see a lot of guns in slasher movies. And I've heard the argument recently that I never heard before, that like you have to be slashing for it to be a slasher, like knives and stuff. I don't agree with that. I think any kills kind of counts as being a slasher movie if it's a constant flow of, you know, antagonist, protagonist killing and all that stuff. But you don't see many guns in you know, slasher movies, horror movies in general, and this one just kind of seemed like something different. I think it was one of those like extra wide chunky boxes too, which was like pretty different for the video store. There wasn't many of those. Usually some of the Italian movies had those, or the clamshells, so it kind of felt like something foreign and something like different that I wasn't supposed to watch. And just, you know, just with the gun on, I'm thinking people getting shot and everything, kind of just, I wouldn't even say scared me off, just I pushed me away from it, you know what I mean? I was hesitant or whatever, you know. Even as a little kid, I would say, even back then to now, I've never really been too scared of horror movies. The only time I might get scared watching a horror movie these days is like I have a deep freezer in my garage, and if I watch a movie a little late at night and maybe have some jazz cigarettes and I got to go to the deep freezer to grab something, I might get a little spooked out in the silence of the night, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking VHS covers. So on to the next one. We're going to go with the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and this is the cover that we had in my video store. I remember talking to one of my friends, it was in 7th grade, this kid Thomas, and his older brother had a lot of horror movies himself, and we would talk about the legend of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was scared of this way before. We never rented this as a kid. I didn't see this movie till maybe I was in middle school, but there was always a rumor about this even back then, that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was real. It was shot like a documentary. Somebody had a camera like how the Blair Witch was, found footage, and this guy really cut people up. And we thought, like, you know, obviously the movie's pretty tame in the regards of you're not actually seeing people getting sliced up with a chainsaw, but as a little kid, I always thought that's what the movie was, like real life, people getting cut up with chainsaws. And this cover, in particular this one, it's just very spooky shit. This one definitely scared me. Just the name of this movie alone, like when you're real little, it's enough to scare you. And then, staying with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we are going to talk about, what is this, the third movie in the franchise, Leatherface? The third or fourth? I believe third. But this is a really badass cover for one. The saw's in the family, he's got the chainsaw right there, and you can see kind of a direction with a lot of these things I'm picking. They're very, like, I wouldn't say creature feature-esque, but not human. You know, a lot of these images of these monsters pretty much on these covers, and this looks like a monster. That is one of the coolest looking masks, one of the coolest looking covers. But as a little kid, when you look at that, super intimidating on the shelf. Leatherface, that one really scared me as well. Okay, now this one you guys might get a laugh out of. So, because I was getting a little bit older by the time this came out and was on the video shelves, and I'm talking Thinner. Now look at this right here. And I got the Scream Factory Blu-ray when it came out. I've still never seen this movie. I never ended up popping it in. But when I was a little kid, I didn't know this was like a guy with his face turned into a skull in like the trench coat. Because, you know, he's getting thinner. I get the cover. Now, when I was a little kid, this always looked like, to me, for some reason, a guy with like a skull face paint or skull mask on. And the part of his jacket always looked like he had like a switchblade and he was like putting his ear up to a door. That's just what I seen in my eyes as a kid, and it came off as like a thriller, like a guy who was stalking people. I mean, pretty much what a slasher is, but I don't know, just the guy like waiting outside the door with a switchblade. It just came off to me. Even back then I knew what a thriller was, and it kind of came more off to me like that, and the cover alone kind of scared me, the idea of someone like hiding outside your door with a knife. Like, I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's why this one scared me. Okay, on to the next. This is a movie I didn't see until I was probably over 18 years old and like a legal adult. and that is Fright Night, because this is the cover that we had in our video store. If we would have had the classic cover with the clouds and the face in the sky, I would have probably wanted to rent that, because, you know, same cover as, what am I thinking of? People Under the Stairs, kind of one of my favorites. But this was just a very scary, legitimately scary image. I forget the kid's name here. This is a kid that has, like, the handicapped kid when he gets turned into, like, the werewolf, right? Or whatever it was. But when the body horror scene of this in the actual movie is pretty wicked. But just with, like, the cross on his forehead and his teeth protruding out, like him changing into something, the all-black background, this shit just looks so terrifying to me. You know, this is one of them I would just stare at. And that's a big story with a lot of these movies I'm talking about that I was scared of. Some of these I wouldn't even pick up. I would just walk over to them, look at them, just stare at it. Like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, kind of feel like dirty being in the aisle, like, as a kid. Like, I shouldn't be back here in this aisle. Funny, I wonder how many other little kids were in those horror aisles and everything, but this one just seemed like something way too scary for me. I never wanted to mess with it. And, you know, it's a great movie now that I've finally watched it, but I will say Lost Boys is way better than Fright Night. I will throw that out there. But anyways, now we are down to my final three. And another Tobe Hooper film I was kind of scared of was Funhouse. Now this cover, something about this clown, the look when he has his brows down, the way he's kind of looking up and that creepy smile. Like, I was always pretty scared of clowns as a little kid. I didn't really like them. Still don't care for them the most. But this one just scared the shit out of me. And, like, certain, like, releases, maybe just because they were older, because I believe this came out in 81, but there were certain titles, you know, in the video store that, like, were so beat up or, like, had smudges on the case and just, they seemed, like, dirty. And this one just shot kind of dirty, too. But, like, you guys know what I'm talking about? Like, some of the clamshell horror movies, like, had a weird smell to them, and some of the older movies just were beat up and looked like, almost like snuff films in a way before I even knew what that was. Is that weird for me to say that? But some of these movies just gave me that vibe and that look of that clown. I was like, I'm not messing with this. And way too dark of a movie for me to watch back then anyways, even though I was watching some really fucked up stuff. I remember lending my mom some movies a while ago, and one of the movies was American Gothic, because I used to watch that all the time as a kid. I remember her telling me, like, that movie was messed up. You guys were watching that as kids? And I remember telling her, like, we were watching way more fucked up stuff than American Gothic. Like, that movie only kind of gets fucked up towards the end, and even then it's pretty tame. There's not much graphic kill. It's just some bodies in the basement. But anyways, I digress. Now, on to the final two, which are copies that I own. And this is in my top 3 favorite horror movies of all time, and you guys might be surprised to find out I never watched this till I was an adult. And that is John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, I don't know what it was. When I was a little kid, I almost thought this was like a clown. Like that his furry hood was like the hair of the monster, and I thought it was an actual, like, monster, and his face shined out like this. That's what I thought it was as a kid. And maybe I looked at the back and seen the fire stunts and everything, because this is an original copy of The Thing. This might be like a second press, like, case, but with the original tape inside. Something like that, I believe. Got this at Static Tape Video. But The Thing, yeah, just something about this just looks kind of epic, looks kind of, I mean, to be fair with what the movie's actually about, like, it has an unknown to it, just like it does in the film. So I just kind of was maybe a little breathtaken by this, you know, a little shunned away. But yeah, that one scared me, definitely. And here's the one which was the reason for this whole list, which I've talked about this before. I bought an original copy of this VHS. This is the one that we had in the video store, and that is Demons. Now look at the image of... Give me glare. Look at the image of that demon on the front. That is some scary ass shit. I don't care who you are. When you're a little kid and you're looking at that, that looks so much older too than the 1980s. This looks like, it always looked like something from like the 60s to me when I was a little kid. And just look at that demon. It looks so human-like, looking right at you with those jowls. And just plain and simple, just the one demon, horn sticking out. A badass cover. A movie that I've learned to absolutely love. Can't get it out right now, but this one just scared the shit out of me. This is, like I said, the reason I made this list. I remember just gazing at this in the store, just staring at it like, what the fuck is this? And this is one of the titles, like I said, a lot of these I did watch when I was a kid. This in particular, I was always too scared to rent. I didn't even want to pick it up. I wanted to get away from it. It intrigued me. It scared me. Scary, scary shit. And with that being said, I'm going to give my old man quote of the day and say they don't make them like they used to, because they really don't. These covers were badass, and there's many different variants of covers for a lot of these movies back in the day. But that's the one that scared me the most when it comes to demons. But anyways, that is my top 10 list of VHS covers that scared me as a kid. If you guys would like to see a part 2, I could probably do one, because I just thought of this one. Thought of these off the top of my head. If I scanned my shelf, I could probably do a volume 2 somewhat in the future. But other than that, that's my list. And, you know, even though a lot of these movies scared me as a kid, like the covers, you know, some of them when I'd watch them, they weren't as scary as the covers were. Some of them were just as scary, if not more scary. But I think that's the fun part with horror, is kind of testing your limits on what gets you feeling that way and what doesn't. You know, kind of the element of unknown, you know, and that's something I miss about video stores. You could just browse and look at something straight at the cover, which you get tricked a lot back in the day. Something that would look so badass, you'd rent it and it would suck. But that's just, you know, the game we play when it comes to horror movies in particular. But I miss the days of going into the video stores and browsing around. I think that's why I collect in the first place. I like browsing through my shelf. You know, shout out to Static Tape Video out in Muskegon, Michigan, because they have one of the biggest physical media stores, so you get a little glimpse, a little feel of that whenever you get to go up there. They're going to have a pretty badass convention coming up in March, too. I'll do more updating you guys on that. If anyone's from Michigan and watching this, I'm sure you guys are aware of it at the time. But, yeah, anyways, hopefully everybody's having a good December so far. I'm not quite sure what content I'm going to be putting out. I probably will do some sort of Christmas-related video like everyone else is, and obviously the Vinegar Syndrome unboxing when that shows up. I'm going to have an episode of Total Recall, a live stream, I don't think this next Sunday, but the one after. Or was it? Actually, I think we're going to do it next Sunday. I'll keep everybody updated. Easy for me to say. Anyways, that's it. Blood Guts Gore. I'll check you guys next time.